sconces lined the gray stone walls, and a gigantic candelabra cast a golden glow on the altar. The pews were trimmed with sprigs of bittersweet and branches of Chinese lantern plant tied with brown and orange gauzy ribbons. The wedding was perfect, except for two things. The satin bridesmaids' gowns that were ordered in deep, rich cinnamon showed up 2 days before the wedding and were bright Halloween pumpkin. And instead of standing across from the groom, beaming, I was standing across from his first cousin, Norman, smiling a hollow smile like a jack-o'-lantern. That, and I probably wouldn't have gone with brown roses. I tried to talk Janie out of them. Brown is the color of dead flowers, Janie. But they don't look like dead flowers, Van. They're elegant. It was a lost cause. Martha Stewart Weddings had a spread of fall bouquets, and Janie's mom made a ton of trips out to Connecticut to exactly the same florist to have exactly the same bouquets made for Janie's wedding. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Janie's cousin Libby standing next to me, dabbing at her eyes with a lace-trimmed handkerchief. Not only did she have the teary smile down, but she somehow managed to look fabulous in bright orange. I couldn't see Bethany, Janie's college friend, from where I was standing, but I was sure she was crying appropriately as well. She seemed like the type. At least she looked awful in her dress, too. I spent the whole ceremony with my hands wrapped around my bouquet of bittersweet and Janie's brown roses, digging my nails through my orange satin gloves into the back of my other hand. I missed the part about anyone having any reasons as to why these two blah 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 blah. I missed the I do's and all that crap. I just stood there and concentrated on pressing hard enough to feel pain through 2 layers of thick satin. I tried not to look at Peter, in his slate gray tuxedo and shiny shoes, as perfect as the porcelain groom Janie ordered for the top of their wedding cake. And I tried not to look at Janie, glowing in the reflection of candlelight sparkling off the crystals hand-sewn along the neckline of her dress. I stared at the brown roses and tried to make it look like I was solemnly meditating on the meaning of marriage and the serious commitment being made before my very eyes. Then they were kissing, and the whole deal was done. Janie pressed her hand against Peter's chest to keep him from kissing her too long or too hard, or in any way that might be inappropriate for the photographer to capture. I would have held him as close as I could for as long as I could, but I tried not to let myself think about it. I put the jack-o'-lantern smile back on my face and handed Janie her brown flowers. Norman and I followed them down the aisle, my hand positioned just above the crook of his elbow the way Vanessa, the wedding planner, showed me. We walked in step, pause, time. Norman reached across with his other arm and put his hand over mine. I kicked him in his calf during the pause part of our procession walk and hissed, "Don't get ideas, Normie," through my smile. He dropped his hand back to his side. At the reception at the Kittle House, Norman rambled through a long and painful toast that started with how he and Peter used to think girls had cooties and ended with a diatribe about his divorce and how he couldn't have gotten through it without Peter. We raised our glasses of champagne before switching over to spiced wine for the traditional Thanksgiving feast spread out across the tables like a picture of gluttony from the time of kings and knights. I was thankful that Janie's father decided it was tacky for the maid of honor to toast the couple. This was a rule he probably made once he realized I was going to be Janie's maid of honor, no matter what he had to say about it. Charles Driscoll hated me ever since I taught Janie the F-bomb in 4th grade. Janie got sent home from school for saying it in front of her teacher, leaving a permanent mark on her pristine school record. Charles will always blame me for Janie not getting into Harvard and having to go to Brown instead. He will forever be convinced that the F-bomb blemish on Janie's permanent grade school record had kept her out. In reality, she stuffed her application in my book bag instead of the mailbox. Every time I see him now, I want to scream, "It's not because I taught your daughter to say fuck, it's because she didn't want to go to Harvard, you dumbass." But, in honor of the wedding, I resigned myself to, "Mr. Driscoll, you must be so proud." After the first course, Peter stood up to say a few words about his lovely bride and the joy